Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain a thriller that offers intense suspense. Disturbia is about a young man who has to be confined to his house and suspects that his neighbor is a serial killer. However, does he have a psychopathic neighbor? Let's find out more in Disturbia. Disturbia begins with a Spanish class where Ronnie is trying to practice his Spanish by talking about his summer vacation plans. Meanwhile, Kale was sleeping because he wasn't in the mood to study. It was triggered because 5 years ago, Kale lost his father in an accident. The incident was so imprinted on him. Senor Gutierrez, his Spanish teacher, confronted Kale and asked him about his summer vacation plans. But Senor Gutierrez mentioned the death of Kale's father, which immediately sparked his emotions. Without a second thought, Kale beat up his teacher. Kale was later found guilty of violence at school. Because it was a minor case, he was sentenced to house arrest for 3 months. 3 months of his summer vacation had to be spent at home. The police started installing a tracking device on Kale's feet that would record his location. He could not leave the house more than 30 meters from the modem placed in his kitchen. If the modem is unplugged, then the police will come soon. Likewise, if Kale goes too far from his house, the police will immediately arrest him. But if Kale forgets or accidentally goes too far from the modem, he has 10 seconds to quickly enter his house until the light on the device turns green again. In addition to having to undergo house arrest, his mother also had to pay $12 a day. It made Kale so embarrassed by his condition. At that time, in his kitchen, there was a police officer named Officer Gutierrez who turned out to be the cousin of Kale's Spanish teacher. Officer Gutierrez isn't going to make Kale's life easier. Being under house arrest didn't make Kale's life miserable. Kale spends most of his time playing games and snacking while watching TV. While engrossed in watching the news about the reported loss of a woman who was allegedly kidnapped, Kale's mother came into the room and started cleaning her very messy room. His mother was so upset that Kale was lazing around at home that she decided to discontinue her Xbox subscription and cut the TV cable so Kale couldn't have fun any longer. Without all his entertainment so far, Kale's day has become so dull. Until one day, he saw a neighbor who had just moved next door. And the doorbell rang. There was a fire burning when the front door opened, and Kale immediately stepped on the fire to put it out. Unexpectedly, it turned out that behind the fire, there was dog poop. The jerks are 2 boys who know that Kale is locked up at home and can't go out after them. Kale, who was emotional, immediately ran to catch the 2 boys. And sure enough, when he came out through his yard, the device on his leg immediately turned red. Luckily, Kale ran into his house until the light turned green. Unfortunately, Officer Gutierrez came and arrested him. That was when Kale got the first warning. Kale started measuring the furthest distance he could reach with the device on his feet in the afternoon. Now he knew he couldn't cross that line again. There he could peek at his neighbor who had just moved in. And from her bedroom window, she could see Ashley, the new neighbor she had a crush on at first sight. Because he's bored while at home, Kale finally started peeking at his neighbors, and he came to know what the people around him were doing. Starting from his neighbor who is having an affair to the boys across his house who like watching porn. While struggling to retrieve the letter from the postbox, Kale was finally able to talk to Ashley. But it turns out that Ashley knows that Kale often peeks at her. The 2 of them chatted, and apparently, Ashley also liked Kale. That night, Kale was busy changing the TV channel until he accidentally found another news about the woman who was reported to have disappeared. According to the TV reporter, the woman was last seen with a man driving a Mustang with a dented bumper. So far, they haven't found the kidnapper. That night, Kale started doing his stunts again, peeking at his neighbors, especially Ashley, with a pair of binoculars. While he was playing on his cell phone, Kale realized that a Mustang car was approaching. It turns out the vehicle belonged to a neighbor. The man seemed to have just put a large plastic bag into his house. When he saw it using binoculars, Kale could see that the front bumper of the Mustang car was dented, just like what was reported on TV. Suspicious, the following day, Kale decided to peek at his neighbor from behind the fence. While he was peeking, suddenly Mr. Turner approached and caught him. Kale was very tense, but it turned out that Mr. Turner was not talking to him, but to a rabbit that was destroying his crops. Kale was so relieved to realize that. Ronnie came to visit again, and both of them were enjoying watching Ashley swimming. But unfortunately, Ashley realized that she was being watched and decided to go to Kale's house. Ashley then forced her way into Kale's room. There, using Kale's binoculars, Ashley looked at her house. Her guess was correct all along, if Kale peeked at her often. Too tensed, Kale and Ronnie say that neither of them actually watching at her, but they were watching Mr. Turner, who they suspected was a serial killer. It was because Mr. Turner was driving a Mustang of the same color that was broadcast on television. The car also has a dent in the front bumper. But when Ashley looked at Mr. Turner's car, she didn't see anything dented there. So could Kale's suspicions be wrong? That night, Ronnie and Ashley decide to spy on Mr. Turner. When Mr. Turner came home, it turned out that he had brought a woman from a nightclub. Mr. Turner then led the woman into his house. From his bedroom window, Kale and Ashley could see the two of them making out. Then through the monitoring on his handy cam, the scene turned tense when Mr. Turner started to take a small knife and walk towards the woman. But it turns out she used the knife to cut the price tag that was still hanging on her dress. Kale and Ashley finally decided to end their snooping because Mr. Turner and that woman must be having a great time. When Ashley returned to her house, Kale immediately returned to his room. But when he looked back at Mr. Turner's house, Kale saw the woman looking terrified. Kale immediately recorded using his handy cam, but the flash accidentally turned on. Kale went into hiding. Then when he looked back at Mr. Turner's house with his binoculars, he was so surprised when he looked directly at Mr. Turner, who gave him a sinister look. Without thinking, Kale called Ronnie and told him what he had just seen. But a few minutes later, Kale saw the woman get into her car and drive away. Kale was confused about what was going on. The following day, Kale woke up and went straight to the kitchen to make breakfast, but he was so surprised to find Mr. Turner at his house. It turned out that Mr. Turner had just helped his mother. Kale's mother seemed to like Mr. Turner. That night Ashley had a party at her house, and Kale was distraught when he saw that another man had started to flirt with Ashley. So he decided to play loud music to disrupt the party. Ashley, who was angry, came to Kale's room and was furious. That's when Kale said that he'd been watching Ashley all along and that he knew all her favorites. Ashley, who noticed Kale's attention, melted and started kissing Kale, but without them knowing it, at Mr. Turner's house, there was blood splashed up to the window of his house as if he was slaughtering someone. They both realized when they saw Mr. Turner, who was busy lowering a package from the top of his house and put it in his garage. Kale and Ashley were so shocked and guessed what exactly Mr. Turner was up to this evening. They were sure that Mr. Turner had just killed someone. So the next day, Kale, Ashley, and Ronnie decide to investigate Mr. Turner. Ashley gets a job to follow Mr. Turner, who is seen as busy buying a shovel. While Kale watches from the house, Ronnie is asked to sneak into Mr. Turner's car. But while snooping around, Ashley loses track and bumps into a woman and ends her phone call with Kale. Meanwhile, Ronnie has managed to break into Mr. Turner's car and is trying to find a remote to open Mr. Turner's garage door. Kale was so tense that they now didn't know where Mr. Turner was and he could appear at any time. Meanwhile, Ashley, who was looking in the parking lot, was confronted by Mr. Turner, who realized that he was being followed. Without a second thought, Mr. Turner got into Ashley's car and started threatening her. He said that he actually knew he was being followed and asked Ashley to tell Kale that he wasn't the only one who liked to peek at other people. Ashley finally said that what they were doing was dangerous and asked Kale to stop following Mr. Turner. That night, Kale is busy changing his handy cam so that it can become a walking camera. Suddenly Ronnie comes and says if he left his cell phone in Mr. Turner's car and has to get it back. So the two of them began to carry out a mission that was dangerous and could threaten their lives. Ronnie, using a handy cam that Kale has modified, begins to enter Mr. Turner's house. Ronnie was so tense while being monitored by Kale from inside his room. Knowing the combination to open the garage door, Ronnie was able to open the door and sneak inside. But when in the garage of the house, Ronnie could smell the stench that was so strong like the smell of corpses. Ronnie immediately got into Mr. Turner's car and he managed to find his cell phone. And that's when he saw a package in the darkness, the origin of the stench he smelled. Ronnie also said that a lot of blood was dripping from the package. But when he was watching, Kale realized that Mr. Turner's garage door was closed. Mr. Turner was at his house at the time. Now Ronnie was trapped there. Ronnie, who was frightened, immediately ran into the house until the video network disappeared. Kale knew that Ronnie was in danger and without thinking, he immediately grabbed a baseball bat and ran to Mr. Turner's house. But just as he was about to enter, the police arrived and Officer Gutierrez immediately arrested him. Kale tried to explain if there was a corpse in the house. So the police checked Mr. Turner's garage. Ashley was watching from a distance and she was so disappointed that Kale wasn't listening. When the package was brought out of his garage, it turned out to be a deer that Mr. Turner had hit. Unfortunately, there were no bodies there. So Kale was brought back to his house and now he has committed 2 offenses. If Kale committed the offense one more time, then he would be held in prison. His mother was so disappointed and furious that she decided to go to Mr. Turner's house to apologize. Kale panicked when he realized this and immediately called Ronnie, but instead, he got a text from Ronnie asking him to look at his television. It turns out that on the TV, Ronnie was lying unconscious. Did Mr. Turner kill him? But Kale recognized Ronnie's location, and he was in the wardrobe in his room. Kale panicked, convinced that Mr. Turner had killed Ronnie and put his body in his wardrobe. With a pale face, Kale checked his closet, and it turned out that Ronnie was there. But it turns out that Ronnie was playing a prank on him because he turned out to be okay and he managed to get out of Mr. Turner's house. Kale then continued to monitor the direction of Mr. Turner's house. That's when he saw the video Ronnie had brought on his computer. Kale was sure he saw something wrong, and his eyes weren't wrong. It turned out that his camera caught a woman who was murdered by Mr. Turner and smuggled under the stairs of his house. Meanwhile, Kale's mother was immediately held captive by Mr. Turner. And it didn't stop there. Mr. Turner was already at Kale's house and beat Ronnie straight away. Mr. Turner tried to beat Kale, but luckily he missed, and the two of them had a duel in the kitchen. Kale desperately grabbed the modem to unplug it so the police will come, but Mr. Turner was a strong man and not easily beaten back. In the end, Kale decided to run out of the house and intended to run as far as possible so that the bracelet on his leg would ring. But Mr. Turner managed to catch him before Kale could get out of the range of his bracelet. He was beaten until he fainted. Kale was then held up with duct tape and dragged back to his room. Mr. Turner then takes Kale's handy cam footage and intends to make Kale the perpetrator of all his crimes. He starts making scenarios if Kale kills Ronnie, his mother, and his father. A perfect plan, especially since Kale has now become the target of the police for being labeled a criminal boy. When Kale was forced to write a confession, he quickly smacked the pen into Mr. Turner's face and immediately ran out of the room. That's when Ashley came and helped him. But Mr. Turner went mad and tried to kill both of them with a knife in his hand. The three then dueled until Mr. Turner was pushed and fell to the floor below. Kale and Ashley immediately hid in the room. After successfully untying the knots in Kale's hands and mouth, Ashley tried to call the police, but the phone was off. Then one way is for Kale to run outside and cross the line so that it will automatically call the police. The lights in the house suddenly went out and Mr. Turner emerged from behind a now shattered door. Kale and Ashley immediately ran through the roof of the house and plunged into Ashley's swimming pool. The moment the detector on his foot touched the water, Kale knew that the police were about to arrive. So Kale's current mission was to get his mother out of Mr. Turner's house. On the other hand, Officer Gutierrez gets a call that Kale is acting up again and he must immediately arrest him. Because he was tired of the boy, Officer Gutierrez intended to finish his dinner first before stopping the boy. In Mr. Turner's house, Kale finally found the hiding place where Mr. Turner placed his killed bodies. But the room was too narrow for him to enter. Then he entered a room where there was a bed and various medical equipment. There, he found an ID card belonging to the woman who had entered Mr. Turner's house. Kale realized that the woman had never left Mr. Turner's house. When passing through the room there, Kale finally found a secret room behind a cupboard. The room led him into a dark basement. Unfortunately, Kale fell into a puddle of water. Officer Gutierrez had arrived at the scene and entered Mr. Turner's house. Unfortunately, Mr. Turner was waiting for him and killed him right away. Still trapped in a puddle of water, Kale realized that there were many rotting corpses around him. It turned out to be the place where Mr. Turner buried all the victims he had killed so far. Kale immediately got out of the puddle and tried to find his mother. Kale finally managed to find his mother. But just as he was about to free his mother, Mr. Turner appeared and immediately tried to finish Kale. The two then collided, but Mr. Turner was so strong. Without thinking, with a lawnmower, Kale attacked Mr. Turner and pushed him to fall into the puddle, where he buried the bodies of his victims. Finally, Mr. Turner managed to overthrow. Kale and his mother also survived the stressful event. Because he had behaved well, Kale was finally released and the detector was removed. He is now free to return with Ashley. Subscribe for more storyline videos. Let's unpack it together.